Welcome to the Shingo Podcast, where we follow the real journeys, the wins, the setbacks, and the hard lessons of those who believe excellence isn't a destination, but a way of life. This is the Shingo Podcast. Today's episode is about something fundamental in the pursuit of operational excellence, and that's respect for every individual. It's not just about being kind. It's about how we design systems, lead people, and make decisions. We're taking a real-world look at how this principle is lived, not just talked about, inside of O.C. Tanner. So joining us today is Josh McEwan, a manufacturing research and development director working at O.C. Tanner for the last 18 years of their transformation. Launched 6 new product lines that have brought over $30 million in new revenue each year, published over 100 videos on YouTube demonstrating O.C. Tanner's lean journey, and I know many of you have watched these. Served in the armed forces for 10 years as an Apache helicopter crew chief in Operation Enduring Freedom and Spring Offensive somewhere in the Middle East. It's a pleasure to welcome Josh to have this conversation with us today at how this principle has really evolved and been embedded in the O.C. Tanner culture. Welcome, Josh.
All right, thank you. Glad to be here.
Let's really get into a discussion about this because it's so basic. It's been written about, there are probably more books written about this principle than maybe any other one in the Shingo model. What does respect every individual look like in action when you're actually in a team? What's that look like? What are people doing?
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with understanding the individual, what they're going through, removing those obstacles, seeing what they're experiencing on a day-to-day basis, and getting involved in what they're actually going through in their work. When I first joined O.C. Tanner, it was a really cool experience because O.C. Tanner showed right away the respect for me as a new employee. And when I went to see where I was going to work, my little cubicle, and it was clean, and my cell phone was sitting on the desk, and my name badge was on the wall, and everything was just ready to go. They had prepared an area for me to be successful, and they had welcomed me and brought me into a team and made me part of their organization, even though I didn't know anybody.
Right.
And that meant a lot to me. That left a huge impression, and I always felt like because of the way they treated me, I want to treat all new employees the same way. I want to welcome them the same way. I want to make sure they have their name badge, that they have their place, and then they're ready to go to work.
That kind of relieves the nerves a little bit, right?
Uh-huh.
And I know that at O.C. Tanner, you also have a very diverse culture. Different national cultures. And part of how we talk about principles is they apply everywhere and anywhere. Respect is respect. Right? Talk a little bit about that since you really do have so many cultures. Kind of tell us how that happened, right? And what your experience is with that, with the many different cultures that you have at O.C. Tanner.
I think one of the things that I learned in the armed forces as I served in different areas of the world, right, is that we're all human beings. We're all good people. We're all trying to do what's right. We have families. We're trying to make a living. We're trying to create a place for families to grow and to learn. And when I came to O.C. Tanner, it was the same feeling and the same observation I had when I was in the military. That these are people that they come here from various different backgrounds, and it may be cultural, but collectively we have the same goals. We have the same vision. Yeah. We have the same direction. And they can bring a lot of their beliefs with them and add to what has become a great culture with like 56 different countries, right, mixed at O.C. Tanner, where you begin to understand and respect what they've been through as they share their experiences, and they bring it to work, either through hard work or even if English is a second language and they're giving a presentation and it's difficult for them, and maybe on their charts there's misspellings, but it doesn't matter. Their heart is in it. They're great people, and I have come to appreciate that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I find that really intriguing. One intriguing thing about OC Tanner, although there are many. Is there a point in time, that you go back to in your mind where you say, oh my goodness, this is really a moment that just really impacted me to say, this is really respect for every individual, either what happened to you or what you experienced maybe in a team or something?
Yeah, I'll give a good example. So I came from a great college education, attended BYU. I studied for 4 to 5 years and really got into the details of engineering, how to make things, what materials to use, CNC equipment, the fabrication. And I remember distinctly one time there was an issue that we were having on one of the production lines. One of the employees that had been there for 20 plus years came up with such a simple but yet powerful improvement that never even crossed my mind. And in my mind, I was thinking of something that was more complicated.
Right.
And I was just so impressed that it didn't matter that I had come with this fancy degree or anything. Here is a person who's very humble, has lots of experience, and their solution was so good. I just realized I've got to look at this from a different point of view. I need to listen to them. I need to trust them, because if they've been doing this for 20 plus years, they probably know a thing or two. And I probably need to be the one learning from them, So it doesn't matter that I know the correct term or, the right spelling, but they implemented something that was pretty powerful and pretty powerful learning for me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great story. Sometimes I look back and go, if I knew that now, I would have done something very different. Have you ever had that kind of a moment where you thought something in the past I would have done much better had I known this?
I think that there's a lot of little examples that that will probably come to mind. I can't think of anything too specific. As we continue to learn and grow, we're developing ourselves. We're becoming either a better employee or a better leader. And so when we look back on something that maybe didn't go well, we say, we probably could have handled that better. That wasn't really the intended outcome. And maybe we intended for something better, and then it doesn't happen that way. And then we say, it's too bad. I think I probably should have gone about it different. Maybe we need to get some feedback from someone to say, this is how you take care of that situation. Like, okay, I'll do that next time. So I think there's lots of things.
I think you're right, and I think it's never perfect, right? As we look at respecting every individual, and it's not always about saying yes, right? I mean, there are times you have to tell people, no, we're not going to do something, right? What's that like?
Sometimes that's harder. If you've had a conversation and maybe the team is split.
Right.
Some want to do it this way, some want to do it the other way. Sometimes that's tough, and you have to say, well, we need to choose one.
Right.
And so maybe what we can do is let's choose one, let's go down that path, and let's see what we can all learn from it. And if we find that it was a mistake and the other way was better, we can always change to that, but let's experiment with it.
Let's move on a little bit from what we see and what that looks like into kind of some of the mechanics of it. How does respect show up in how your teams run meetings, make decisions? Kind of one of the ones you just talked about, right? We're going to do this or we're going to do that, and you've kind of got a split decision, so to speak, right? And how they solve problems. I mean, how does that show up? What does that look like at OC Tanner versus maybe some other places that you've been?
I think it's engagement and ownership. So if they feel like they own the decision and they're interested to see what the outcome's going to be, whether that's leading a huddle or whether that's making a decision from a huddle, they're part of that. It's not just coming to a huddle and listening to what needs to be done, but let's come to a huddle and let's give each other assignments. So If I say, hey, do you mind bringing the quality charts and talking about those with the rest of the team? Then you've got to kind of pay attention a little bit to some of the details. You need to know how to read it. And then when you present it and you talk about it, your opinion may come up. Based on this quality chart, it looks like we need to do this or this. And the rest of the team, as they're listening to that, they may agree or may disagree, but you're having a good discussion that they are now coming to the table with ownership. And I have found that has been a really important part of our culture, is giving them a chance, giving them an opportunity to lead out on it or to present.
Absolutely. It's easy to see if you have ownership, you've got a little more commitment, right? to whatever's happening. What can you think that you've intentionally, maybe some behaviors you've intentionally tried to make it so that your team practices these behaviors and that to get to a certain outcome that you want? And do you ever change those? Do you ever say, okay, we're really good at this now I want to do this?
I think that there are some easy behaviors like, are you paying attention? Are you paying attention to the huddle in the meeting, or are you on your phone doing something else? Like, are you there? Are you present? Right. Those are visual behaviors that sometimes we notice that and we say, hey, let's see if we can all be in this together, engaged together. And I'd love to get your input. If you're part of it, then it would be good to hear what you have to say about it. I think that's kind of a basic one. Some of the other behaviors may even be around providing a good culture through positive energy.
Okay.
Say we're going after a challenge together, instead of relenting or talking about the issue over and over again. Okay, we know what the issue is. Now what should we do about it? So help to find solutions to the problem. That it's not just one person's decision, but all of us are collectively working on that problem together.
Yeah, it's awesome. Sometimes when we look at problems, it's kind of easy to see the negative, right? We're kind of trained to do that, right? We're trained to see a lot of that, even through schooling, right? We're trained to see the negative side of it. It's not always easy to get everybody headed in that with that positive energy that you talk about. You've seen how systems drive behavior and change the culture, right? Once those behaviors get embedded into the culture, what impact does that have on morale, trust, collaboration? I'm sure you've seen that change over time in maybe a specific team or many teams or OC Tanner as a whole, right? What do you see when you look at that morale, trust, collaboration?
I think that what I see is, if I'm focusing on, let's say, our top 3 systems, which could be coaching, strategy deployment, and recognition. So as I think about those 3 as being the top 3 systems out of like 35 different systems,
right.
I can see, for instance, with strategy deployment, that people are engaged in that process because they're setting their own goals, they're doing the work, and that's usually the lead condition. What is the thing, or what is the lever I'm going to pull in order to get this expected outcome?
Right.
And as they do that and they get involved and they see a change happening, they get excited. It's like when you catch a fish for the first time and you just want to throw it back out there and catch another one, because that was such a cool, unexpected experience, although you did a little bit of work to get there. With strategy deployment, you start to see that behavior, like we talked about before, this ownership behavior. If I'm setting my own goal, and if I'm doing the work to get that goal to be realized, more than likely you're going to hit that desired outcome. But if you give me the goal and you say, this is what I want you to do, there's a higher percentage chance that I probably won't hit it the same way unless I say, this is my goal, what do you think? And if you say, I love it, go for it. Or you could say, based on the direction of the company, you might want to make a little bit of adjustment. And so as a leader, you could say, help guide them. Right. And they say, oh, okay, I see. So it's less about being on time and it's more about quality. Yes, the focus right now is on quality. What can your goal look like if it's attached to quality? Then give them the challenge. They go back, they figure out a new goal, they come back and they offer it, and they say, what do you think of this? And perfect, I love it. That's a tough goal. You guys going to be able to hit that? So I think when we're talking about behaviors related to systems, I think that's a good example where if your system is working the right way, you're going to end up with the right behavior, which will then provide the right results.
You remind me when you're talking there that ownership's a big deal, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Ownership in the goal, ownership in helping create that is really big. How do you know when a new hire has finally embraced this, right? Has seen it work, has embraced this principle of respect every individual, and you as a leader go, they got it?
That's an interesting question because I just hired someone a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And so as part of the interview process, I am looking for someone who is going to add to our culture. Obviously comes with the right experience and background, but I am looking, as I ask them specific questions, I want to see if they're going to be a good contributor, a positive contributor that's going to push us excelled in the right direction. So that's the first step. Then the second step is they're here.
Right.
Now, are they going in the right direction?
Right.
And am I providing the right development and onboarding to make sure that they're infusing themselves in the culture? And so I do have this employee that I hired and like I said, been with me for a couple weeks, and she's been fantastic. So first, great choice, but now she's beginning to see how we work, and she's seeing the weaknesses and strengths. And she's starting to say, okay, I can start to see how I can help. And so now all I have to do is just get out of the way.
Right.
Give her support, give her autonomy, allow her to experiment a little bit. And every so often I'll give her, even today, I gave her some information that would be helpful that some of the stakeholders are worried about. It's like, okay, that's good context for me as we're building this timeline and this vision. And she's got some work that she's going to be completing over the next week or two. I think it's helpful for me to know that she, again, has some ownership, but she's also having fun with it, that it's more than what she expected. Because hopefully it's more than what we expected in her as well. Right. Which is exactly what's happening. Sometimes we have to be flexible as leaders to allow that individual and their personality and their background to adjust and to begin to infuse into that culture and then enhance it and provide wonderful insights that make our culture even better.
Sounds like your job as a leader really is, you've got to create that environment for them, right? Mm-hmm. That so they can experience all of that. That sounds like a big part of your task. If you had a story that you would tell that embodies respect every individual at OC Tanner, what story would you tell?
I actually have a story that's a learning experience for me.
Okay, fair enough.
So this has a little bit to do with the desk thing again. Several years ago, we were doing some maintenance on the desk area, mm-hmm. and we were displacing some of the folks that were on our team. And one individual, I put him in the engineering lab and basically gave him like a makeshift table on top of two barrels essentially, with an extension cord, and then a bucket that was turned upside down for his seat. I mean, it was going to be for just a couple days, but
right.
I didn't really have a ton of other options to put him so that he could work. Even though he knew that it was because of construction, he never forgot that. He never forgot how it made him feel.
Right.
Like
right.
He put me in the engineering lab on a bucket.
On a bucket.
And so it sounds so horrible, but I could have done a better job of making sure that he had a place that he felt really comfortable with, where he could do his work, and it didn't feel so disrespectful to him, because he did.
Right.
He felt disrespected. Like, this is what you think of me. Even though there's construction going on, this is what you think. And so I'll never forget that experience, setting him on a bucket with a makeshift table. It's just so awful. That experience has kind of helped me to think through what people are going through. Even though it might be well-intended, let's make sure that we fully understand what experience they're having.
As you point out, it's not always about the experience we have, it's about what we learn from it, right? And how it improves us personally, right? And I think that's a good point. That's really important. If you had to give some of the leaders that are watching this an idea of what they could do tomorrow to help drive some respect into their organization, what's one thing you'd tell them? This is something you should do.
I think the one thing that I would tell them is there is a lack of good leadership in the world. There's a lot of leaders out there.
Right.
I think really good leaders, there's a few of them. And for us to look inward or to get some feedback from people that we trust, maybe it's a close colleague, maybe it's our own leader, but ask them, what are some of my blind spots? What are some of the things that I could do a better job of? And be open to receiving feedback. Be open to maybe having a 360, where you're getting feedback from all levels of the organization. But I think being open to that and not feeling like you've arrived or that you're entitled or that you think, well, I've earned this, or this is what I get to do now, it's comfortable. That's not really the case. I think that we need to see what our team members are going through. Be the person to remove their obstacles. Be the person to really understand them. Build a relationship with trust with those people so that they can come to you when they need to. And it could be because they're having a bad day, or maybe they're struggling with something, or maybe there's something that they need. But be there for them, but not be there for a short time. Just really be there. Sometimes you may need to just do an activity with your entire team and take them away from their work so that they can go and relax. And that's going to be important to them. So that's what I would say, is that there's a lack of really, really good leaders in the world, and I think all of us need to step it up.
Fantastic. Well, Josh, thanks for your time today. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for helping us understand a little bit deeper how respect for every individual really works within an organization, the practical application of driving those behaviors with some of the systems that you talked about. Thank you for joining us for this Shingo podcast. You heard some of the things that you can do, take home immediately to be able to make a difference in your organization. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please subscribe. We look forward to seeing you later. Thank you until next time.